We analyzed total fertility and its relationship to other factors such as economics, population, health, and education. Total fertility is the number of children that are born to each woman. We noticed a general pattern with developing countries in Africa and Asia with high fertility rates, focused on each factor's effect on total fertility, and tried to understand the driving forces behind this pattern. First, we looked at extreme poverty. Extreme poverty is defined as intense destitution of food, clean water, sanitation, education, and other basic human needs. Trends show that countries with high fertility rates tend to be impacted by extreme poverty. Over the past 2 decades, the majority of countries shift towards lower fertility rates and are less harmed by extreme poverty. China does not follow this trend as precisely. China's total fertility showed a less significant drop compared to their poverty. African countries show a much slower progress. There are many reasons for slower progression, one being that Africa as a continent shows a net loss of $58.2 billion each year. Despite the continent's immense natural and human resources, it remains stagnant. A lack of government stability is another cause of Africa's slow development. 70% of Nigerian citizens have been reported as living on wages of less than $1.25 per day. With lower pay, families are more likely to have more children, hoping that they will one day support the family. A system that implements a country's growth may be the only one to aid in the decrease of total fertility. The next factor that we analyzed was age at first marriage. When looking at the data of children per woman at the age of first marriage in 2005, we could see that many sub-Saharan African countries have a higher fertility rate at a younger age at first marriage than other countries in different regions of the world. For example, the average children per woman for all sub-Saharan countries is about 5 children, and the average age at first marriage is around the age of 22. Ivory Coast fertility rates and age at first marriage in 2005 most accurately represent these numbers. When comparing that number to the world average of 2.5 children, we conclude that the average fertility rate for sub-Saharan African countries was double the world average in 2005. The world average for age at first marriage was 25 years old in 2005. The global average for both of these statistics were accurately represented by Kuwait in 2005. The question is, why are sub-Saharan African women marrying young and having more children than the world average? The most common explanation is that, according to the worldbank.org, the economies of sub-Saharan African countries are extremely poor. This is mostly due to the region's GDP of just $685.845 billion US dollars, a figure that is around 19 times less than the GDP of the United States. Since parents are struggling to support their families, women have the option of marrying at an early age in order to have more time to birth children, who could then be used as a source of income for the family. Next, we found a negative correlation between the number of babies per woman and the mean number of years in school for women aged 15 to 44. Mean years in school for women aged 15 to 44 is the average number of years of school attended by women in that age group, including primary, secondary, and tertiary education. From 1970 to 2009, Gapminder shows a decline in the number of babies per woman and an overall increase in the number of years in school. However, the majority of African countries represented shift less than all the other countries, if they make any positive movement at all. We noticed that in Somalia, one of the most stagnant countries, there was an increase in the number of babies between 1989 and 2004. Through further research, we learned that this occurs due to the roles of women in Somalia. Because of the country's poor economic status, many families sell their daughters into marriage for money, meaning more girls have more children in their marriages. Additionally, many men were killed off during the Somali Civil War, so women took on the role of the family breadwinner, meaning that they could not attend school. This war took place from 1988 into the 2000s, a period consistent with our findings on Gapminder. Lastly, improved sanitation and total fertility show a strong negative correlation. Sanitation refers to the percentage of total population that has access to facilities that hygienically separate human excreta from human contact. It is shown that developing countries in Africa and Asia had the lowest sanitation percentage and the highest fertility rates compared to the rest of the world. From 1990 to 2010, almost all countries improved sanitation, thus decreased total fertility. One main reason for this correlation is the urbanization that has occurred, resulting in women delaying childbirth. Another reason for decreased total fertility is less children will die from poor health conditions, including diarrhea and cholera. With improved sanitation, more infants and children will survive, ultimately lowering the number of babies per woman. Laos had a large improvement in sanitation and decrease in fertility. Fertility in 1994 was 5.6, but decreased to 3.9 in 2010, partially due to improvements in sanitation, which increased from 16% in 1990 to 63% in 2010. This increase was an effect of the World Bank's Water and Sanitation Program in East Asia and the Pacific, which led to the Economics of Sanitation Initiative. In a different light, the country of Niger has made little improvement in sanitation, thus not declining the fertility rate. Though they had a few reform movements in the 1990s, the government never made sanitation a priority, which leaves Niger with the highest fertility rate in the world at 6.89 today. After analyzing these four sub-factors, we concluded that more than one aspect can impact total fertility.